innovation methodologies worldwide. And that's why we're here today, is to celebrate that method and learn how to use it better and to use other tools like the Jobs to Be Done framework in different ways. So Gijs, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Now, first of all, some personal questions here, and please type the answer in the chat. Now, of course, you all have insured your house or your car, right? Who of you changed in 2023 from insurance company? Write down a yes or a no. There's no good or bad answer. Did you change your insurance company in 2022? Please write down no, 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 yes, yes, nope, nope, no, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, 3 yeses. Good. That's not too bad. Now, of course, in 2023, you already have been to the hairdressers, except me, as you see, right? That's what you get when you live in Greece. Now, who of you have changed hairdressers in 2023? Please type a yes or a no. No, no, no hairdresser changed. No, no, no. Yes, no, 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 no. Oh, from Italy. All right. Now, of course, I hope you all are in love or have a relationship. Now, who of you changed partners in 2023? Oh, am I the only one to say a happy yes? No, 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 no. Oh, a lot of no's. Wow. Now, when do you change your habits? That's the major question. A major question for all of us. Because when we do something new, a new service, a new product, a new process, somebody has to change his behavior. When do you change your behavior? When do you change from hairdresser, from insurance company, or from partner, right? Yeah. That's when you try to avoid or solve some pains. And that's what this session is about. And that's what innovation is about, because innovation, simply put, is a new solution for a relevant customer friction with the business model. Now, at Ford, we use the word customer friction, right? Please, Corrado, can you mute, please, everybody? Thank you so much. So why is this important? Now, we call it customer frictions at Ford. This was before Jobs to Be Done. This was before customer gain and pains. This was even before YouTube was launched, right? This was developed. We call it customer frictions. It are pain points of customers or unmet needs that we need to solve. Now, this plays a major role in innovation. And Maria Vittoria, if you can come up with the 4th innovation methodology. This map unites us all in the 4th Innovation Institute. We all apply this royal way to start innovation, or this proven best practice the last 20 years. It's full steam ahead, observe and learn, raise ideas, test ideas in 20 weeks, from innovation assignment to 3 to 5 business cases. I like to focus this time on the island observe and learn. That's where you put your blinders off. That's where you change from your operational excellence mindset in a discovery mindset. And one of the most essential points is, what are the unmet needs in the market you're aiming at? What are the problems there in the market you're aiming at? And of course, we have customer frictions. There's also customer pains and gains, and there is jobs to be done. And I'm so glad that Florian now takes us in the tool of jobs to be done. So thank you, Florian, and Jesse, back to you to introduce Florian.
All right, everybody. The man of the hour, Florian Hameister. He is the innovation expert, the remote innovations Macher. I had to look that up, Florian. It just means remote innovator. You've been doing that for about 6 years. You have degrees in industrial engineering as well as degrees in innovation management. You're a pro innovation facilitator. You've done this with Gijs for a long time. You taught my team how to use the 4th innovation method. And here today, you're going to talk to us about the Jobs to Be Done framework.
All right, thank you very much, Jesse. So now I try to start. Let's see if that is working. Tell me, do you see something? Yes, awesome. All right, perfect. And Maria, is there a possibility that can you make off the bing bing? Is that possible? Can you mute it?
Don't think so.
The entrance bing bing. No, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, I try to focus. All right. Okay, I want to talk about jobs to be done today, the framework, at least how I understand it, right? So anyway, before we start, I like to get some technical things issued because I like to use what I'm going to do. As you see now, I'm going to share my presentation via Zoom. But what I like you to do, I'm using the tool Mentimeter. I don't know if you know that. I hope to get a little bit interaction because I think like, only me talking gets boring. I will give you the access in a second. And what I like you do, I have a few questions I like you to answer, but you also can write questions. You see on the bottom, there's like little bubbles with two speech bubbles. There you can type in questions. So whenever you have a question, you understand, write it in. And at the end, I will go have a short Q&A where we go into it. And yeah, you can also press a heart if you like what I'm saying, and then I'm kind of understanding if you're still with me or not. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to share a link in Zoom, and I also, when you have your phone, which also makes a lot of sense, you just can scan the code very quickly and work with your phone. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yes. Right. So I give you a few seconds more to scan. Perfect. A few people are already in there. Sweet. Looks good. So, because before we want to start, I like to know, where are you logging in from? I know it's going to be a little bit difficult on the phone, but it's just roughly if you're from Europe, if you're from America, Japan, whatever, right? So don't bother if it's just roughly, that will be enough. So we see US, Europe, looks like Northern Europe. Nice, huh? And we have India, we have South Africa. Nice. Japan. Sweet. All right. Really nice. Right. Thank you very much. Very interesting. So we have here, oh, somebody from, wow, in the middle of nowhere, I would say. What is that? But I like to start now because I think I have way too much, doesn't matter. So I like to talk a little bit about the jobs to be done framework, understanding how to help customers make progress. Shortly, we're going to have like 4 or 5 little steps. I like to say some words about my journey and who I am, a little bit background in the origins of jobs to be done, and then the core concept and principles, and then how we actually do it. Yeah. And at the end, a little sneak preview and now what, right? What to do on the solution space. So Jesse introduced me quite well already. So Florian, some personal 42, I'm married, I got 2 kids. I'm living in Germany. I'm German, so I apologize for my English or maybe some written mistakes, right? You have to live with it. And I, like Jesse said, right, I worked in a decade in product development. So I'm half engineer, so, really product focused. And we didn't develop digital products, we still developed in the industry like real products. And it was a phase of big learnings and big failure. Why? Because what I kind of figured is, we develop products that have pure product focus, and that really caused failure. So really, I still remember the day when we went to customers and I looked in his face because he was totally disappointed. We developed something that he didn't want it. And another point of view, which I also see, I'm coming from product development, so marketing was not that mine. And when we were about doing market segmentation, it felt kind of weird. And it would be awesome, thank you, if you mute, cool. Yeah. So my next step was part of design thinking. And I said, oh, awesome, something new, right? Some people have to do it before. So I looked in and it was quite interesting. What I learned here is really about, what makes a lot of sense is observing customers, right? Fly on the wall or doing it on your own just to understand, what are the issues. what I really struggled with was creating these personas. I still don't like this because it feels too making not a fake, but in like a, how you say that, not a fictive persona that somehow has to manage this or should kind of present this a certain amount of people. It didn't felt good. I still don't like personas, right? So that was one of my learnings. And I also, besides force, right, I also looked in the part of the value proposition. And here I got to learn the jobs to be done, the pains and the gains jobs to be done, which I said, interesting. So people has jobs, and with these campaigns and gains, what I figured is, it's still always my perspective is there's still way too much in Thoughtland, right? So there's way too much coming from us, from the product side, building stuff up. So I was always thinking, is that really right? Or is it just we're making stuff up so it fits? And in 2020, I had the pleasure to learn the theory or the framework of jobs to be done. And that was quite an interesting journey the last 3 years. And I still say I'm a beginner, but I like to share here a little bit of my learnings. Yeah. But before we go on, I would like to understand what are actually your experiences. Are you more a newbie in one of these techniques or methods, or are you already an expert in design thinking, force, for example, value proposition, and jobs to be done? Will be just interesting to see. Right. So I see design thinking and value proposition, quite a lot of people know. Force, some really good, the most are newbies, and jobs to be done, also a few people know it quite well, but seems to be a lot are also very new. That's cool. Perfect. Thank you very much. So let's start with the background and the origins. I like to start with the creators. They're like, and this is always saying, it's like a little, what I understood, it's a little bit like a soap opera. So, it's just half knowledge I have here. So there's actually like three guys that kind of developed or created jobs to be done in the 1990s. So on the one side is Bob Moesta and Clay Christensen, who developed the framework of jobs to be done. And there's also Tony Ulrich, who also claims to, came up with a part of jobs to be done. So that seems to be very interesting. Yeah. So, but these three guys are more or less the creators of jobs to be done. But you see the thin line between Bob Moesta and Clay Christensen and Tony Ulrich, because for me, there's like two, so they're different. Let me go this, yes. So I read these three books, Demand-Side Circle from Bob, then Competing Against Luck from Clay Christensen, and What Customers Want from Tony Ulrich. And what I kind of figured, Tony Ulrich is really focusing my perspective really on the optimization. So he wants to understand really, how to help customers progress in the part of improving the current product, right? How do I make my product better? How to make my drill better? What kind of features do I have to make it better to help customers make progress? On the other side, Bob Moesta and Clay Christensen, what I understood is more they're talking about innovation, right? So how can we help customers to really make progress and giving them a new way of making progress? Yes, I'm kind of understanding that. So, and I want to talk about this kind of approach. So you probably all know, right? What's innovation? I don't want to go what's really innovation, but the point is here, we always say that it has to have these three bubbles, right? It has to have a business focus, so the viability. It has to have a customer focus, the part of the desirability, and it has to be a technology or a product focus concerning about the feasibility. And if they all work together, then the magic happens and innovation is on the plate. In my experience, totally agree. In my experience, the reality in most companies look like this, right? There's a business focus there, but it's really, they're very, very much product focused. Yeah. And there's a little part of customer focus, but it's not really into it, which explains quite well why a lot of products really fail on the market. And I like to saw a very nice example here from Bob Moester, who kind of said, okay, what's actually different between supply side innovation and demand side innovation, right? So on the one side, we have the supply side, right? We're building a product, we want to push it out to our customers. And on the other side is there are customers and consumers that want to make progress, right? And they're looking for something, so they're pulling products towards them. Yeah. And what he says in between, there's like a big wall, huge wall, and he called it the product market disconnect. Yeah, and I think that fits perfectly, because what we always say is you only can have a new product and a successful product if you have a product market fit. And that is not so easy. So let's have a short look on the supply side. Here's like as I also experienced, it's like there comes something from strategy, input from your sales guys, from suppliers, from in-house. And it's, we have ideas. So you build a new product, and then you go on the ladder, look over the wall and say, to whom the new product can fit, right? And then you start to make segmentations, build personas, etc., and see how does it fit. And then I experienced this. I don't know if you experience this. These sayings like, the market is not ready for a new product. I love this one. Then sales is not doing enough effort, or customers do not understand the value of our product. And it's always the perspective, everybody else's fault, but our product is right. And I think this is one of the big things, because it's product focused, it's not customer focused. So, but today we want to look on the other side, right? The demand side innovation. And how does it actually look? And there I have two quotes, which I really like. I think this one you probably know. Customers don't buy products, right? They hire them to do a job, from Clay Christensen. And you probably know the drill part, but I just like it very much, right? The point is really, if you understand why people buy a drill, because people don't buy a drill, right? They want to get a job done. So I need a drill because I want a hole. And when you ask further, why do you need a hole? Yeah, I want to put a plug in, etc., etc. And at the end is actually I need a lamp because it's too dark and I want to read better, right? And if you see this yellow are the jobs, right? So when you look at the first, it's help me to make a hole. When you go down, is help me to read better. And what I try to show here is the solution space you have. Yeah. So if you help your customer, if you want to help your customer progress, and you really understand what they're really wanting, what their real job is, you have a lot of different opportunities or possibilities to help them make progress. But there's a problem, because, and that's the second quote from Bob Moester, like we're quite happy quite often with our way of doing, right? So, and if that is, I'm not looking for a new solution, right? We're humans. I love to, I don't know the word in English, right? We love to do the same thing all over again. We're quite happy, right? And that's the point we said, okay, totally agree, but there are certain moments, and they call them struggling moments. And these are always the seed of all innovation. So what we're looking here in Jobs to be Done is to find these struggling moments. So how does it actually look? The thing is, right, we're using current products. So for everything we do, we use somehow some solutions, some, say, products, some services, etc., right? And there's a certain context or circumstances. And most of the time, something happens and this changes, and then we have a certain struggling moment. So a struggling moment happens then when I'm kind of figure that what I'm doing, something is wrong, something, right? I'm asking myself, maybe I can do better, right? This is the kind of a struggling moment. And what happens then, people think about your desired outcome. So actually, what do I want to achieve, right? And when we have this, I have certain candidates about it, right? And then I have certain hire and fire criteria, but I also have to make trade-offs. And understanding all this is what's called, what at least my understanding is Jobs to be Done, right? So you understand the context, the struggling moments, the forces, the desired outcomes, the criteria, and the trade-offs. And to make it a little bit more practical, I took an example of my own, because taking customer examples is something difficult. So I like to tell you a little my story of progress. Yeah. So about last year, we bought a new car, we bought an electric car. And why? Because before we had a big van for 7 people. Yeah. And we are living on the countryside, and then Corona came. And to be honest, the car, we had 2 big cars that we had almost no usage. We had increasing maintenance costs. The insurance and tax bill was quite high, right? And at one moment we had the part that I had to need to repair this kind of van again. So I had this struggling moment where I said, maybe I can do better. And actually I was looking for a new, cheaper ecological solution that keeps us flexible, right? Living on a countryside, we kind of figured we need somehow a way to be flexible if one is already in the office, like my wife, right? So I looked into new cars, used cars, rentals, etc. So, and what happens actually, when I asked myself, maybe I can do better, yeah? Or consumer self, they also climb the ladder, they look over the wall and say, oh, what or who can help me to do better, right? So we're looking at brands, companies, and products. And the point is here, if I see something that figures that they can help me, right? I will pull this product towards me, right? So I don't need to push, I pull it because I have the understanding that it will help me to make progress. So shortly, we have the 2 things, right? We have the supply side thinking that asks on the part of the electric car, for example, how many people need electric cars, right? So the point isn't that not everybody who wants to get from A to B, right, in a cheap and ecological way needs an electric car, right? That is the downside when you look this way, because you only try to sell electric cars. When you look the other way around and ask the question, hey, how many people are looking for cheaper and ecological way to get it of getting from A to B, right? It's interesting because there are quite a lot of people probably that buy other things than an electric car. And so if you want to help your customers to make progress, you have here the variety and you can choose where you want to focus on. All right. Let's have a look at the core concept and the principles. So I like this kind of understanding of jobs to be done. This also from Bob Moesta. He says, a jobs to be done is a progress that the person is trying to make in a particular struggling circumstance. And you see this kind of picture, right? On the left, on the right side, you have this, is that right? No, that is left. I'm sorry, I have the left-right issue here. On the left, you see kind of the circumstances that kind of push them to the edge where you have the struggling moment. And in that moment where he sees like a new way, right? A new idea, right? He asks himself, I want to go there, right? I want to make progress. And that is part of understanding jobs to be done. That is exactly, how people make this progress. So there are 3 key elements. One is there are 3 sources of motivation, energy, or later on called jobs. And then we have the 4 forces of progress, and we have the jobs to be done timeline. So we have these 3 different energies, right? So one, we have, for instance, the social energy, right? So how actually others see me, right? Relevant with social, with social people. No, how you say that? Social, I'm missing the word, I'm sorry, right? Social, doesn't matter, but right? So the part is here, maybe could be, a new job title, achieve a higher social status, feeling about if I'm doing something good, right? Doing something good is always how others see that. Laugh is a social thing.
Florian, may I
Yes.
break in? If you don't know word in English, just say it in German. We'll work it out together. That works better. I speak fluent German, others do as well. So
thank you very much.
Struggling with your English, and you don't have to. Your story is great.
Thank you. Perfect. Thanks. Right. And then we have the functional jobs, right? The functional motivations. You probably know this is like, getting from A to B. I don't know, bringing my kids to school. I don't know, calculating something. So this, and then we have the emotional part, right? This means, how do I feel, right? So, I want to feel relaxed, or I feel relaxed. I want to go out, or I feel good. I don't want to worry less, right? So, and it's very important to understand that we have different, on these different, so we have social jobs, we have functional jobs, and we have emotional jobs, and we have to trigger them differently. So here it's really important to understand what they are. And again, here's the little example from my no, I lost it. No, I didn't lost it, from my car. Yeah. So what I figured, what jobs do I have? So I have like social jobs is I want to reduce the carbon footprint, right? And I want to feel good. I want to see that I do something good for the environment. At function jobs, like I want to master the daily routine of my kids, especially kids. I have 2 kids, about like 10 and 8, so they have activities. So me and wife, we have to drive sometimes. Well, that's the problem of the countryside, that you always have to drive. Yeah, and another part is we have to keep our family organization flexible. But there's also an emotional one. Yeah, see, every time I had to bring my kids in the winter with my old car, I always had to worry about where I stay. Yeah, because either I go jogging, but in the winter I was not really into running. So I was looking always for a cafe or somewhere, because I couldn't stay in the diesel car, right? Running a diesel for an hour, that sucks. But now with an electric car, I just can leave it on and just stay there and work, right? So this is one big relief here. I don't need to worry anymore, right? I don't need to worry where to stay when I'm waiting for my kids. So let's go. Then we looking into the 4 forces of progress. Yeah. So there are 2 forces that kind of not drag, but kind of show you the way to your new solution. Yeah, and there are 2 forces that are kind of holding you back. So there's one push, right? The push of the situation. So this is a problem you have, an unloved activity, a kind of fear of missing out, maybe a law, right? Or competitive structures. So this is something that pushes you away from the old towards to the new. But there are also poles. That means the new solution pulls you towards, right? This is something like a promising feature, a new ability, maybe a good review or a cheap price, something like this. Yeah. And then we have habits. Habits keep you, right? We're like to stay where we are, right? So habits is really like routines, rituals, comfort zones, familiarity, and convenience. But there are also, and I hope I get this word right, I hope it's anxieties, right? Anxieties? Yeah. I'm sorry, I always mix that up. Right? Here it's really about, what kind of concerns do I have about the seller of the new solution, right? Is there, I have a fear that the solution maybe doesn't bring the desired outcome, the kind of fear that I get disappointed, right? Maybe some doubts about the value. Yeah. Is it maybe risky? And again, here to my example, to make it a little bit more tangible, I hope is, so the old way was a Citroën Van, like the French big car. And we looked into a French new car, a little electric car, right? So what are actually the pushes? The pushes were, really high gas prices in the last time, high insurance costs, permanent repair costs, right? And the other point was important is that in the cities they make environmental zones, and with our old car, we couldn't go in there anymore, right? There were pushes, but there was some pulls. Yeah, I figured, hey, I have solar panels on my roof, so I can use the car with my own produced energy, right? It's way faster, more fun acceleration than this old lame thing. It has an electric motor, right? So for sure there is less maintenance. But there were also habits. So the old car, we had a name for it called Gustav, was the first car we had with our kids, right? It's our family car. It was family. So it's really a habit. We had it all the time. Yeah? It had enough space for friends. It was a 7-seater, right? And it was paid already. And I know what I got actually, right? Even if the repair costs were high, but I know what I got. So these were habits. But there were also anxieties. That means is, I have bad experience now with French cars. This is also a French car. Does it really, does it really save me money in long term? Will the battery last? Yeah. And there is no long-term experience with maintenance. So do I really save money here? Is it really make? The other part, it's way smaller. So the question is, do we all fit in there without any trouble? So here it's really important to understand, and my perspective, we're looking very much about pushes and pulls, but we forget the habits and anxieties. And the point is here, when people, when it's like a vague, I don't know, you know what I mean? It looks like the picture, I forgot the name. So the point is, if the push and pulls weigh more, right? People thinking about making progress, right? They're open to it. When habits and anxieties are weighing more, they're not thinking about making progress, right? No, that makes no sense. They're sticking at their old way. So it's really understanding. We focus a lot about push and pulls, but when you don't know what the habits, anxieties are, you have a problem, because then you can market as much as you want. If you don't catch them there, they won't buy. So the last element, yes, it's the jobs to be done timeline. I think also was a lightning moment for me is we never buy like I don't know, that's again the word, like in an instant, right? There's always a process. We always go through a process in hiring something. And we have here 5 phases and we have 4 major events. So the first event happens in that little struggling moment where I have the first thought. Yeah, where you say, oh, you know, that does not work that's not good, right? So you have something like this. But it's passive looking. So you kind of learn more about the problem, but you not go and search for something. You not say I have to change something. It's just that it starts bothering you. Then there's actually the first event happening where you start to say, okay, now I have to search for possibilities, right? I have to do something. Yeah. And the beautiful possibilities. And then you have the second event, and the time walls should supposed to connect with the second event. That means there's most of the time somehow like a deadline, right? Where you say now, okay, now I have to do something. And then you go into the phase of deciding. So you kind of make trade-offs, okay, with what solution I want to go now. And this ends in the part of hiring, right? So you make your first use, and what you do there, you make the progress. Yeah. And if you use it again, you're going to build up habits. So how does it look now with my example again? Right? So when was the first thought? Actually, the first thought was in January 2022. Now the car made noises again, but what's more important was I received my insurance bill. And I think I also received my tax bill, where I figured it was a big car. It's a lot of money, and it was like, wow, that's going on my nerves. Yeah, but it didn't do nothing, right? It just bothered me, said, okay, I don't like that anymore, right? We don't need it, but I was not looking for new solutions. Then in June 2022, you know, the car started not working properly anymore. And I went to the repair shop and he said, guy, you know, you have to pay 3,000 euros if you want to get it repaired. It's like, wow, you know, that's actually not worth it. So here was the first event where I actually started looking, right? So I got to my wife, we searched, okay, what are their possibilities, right? Okay, a new electric car, a new gasoline car, car rentals, I don't know, other stuff. So where we searched, what are possibilities? And then there was another event, because we kind of decided in between that we're not going to want to use our car anymore. We want to get rid of it. So I put it in eBay and I thought, come on, nobody will buy it, right? But I put it on there and let's see what's going to happen. And then from one to another moment, the guy says, yeah, awesome, I'm going to buy the car. I just come by, I don't think in 2 days later, 3 days later. Yeah. So there was a sudden time where we said, shit, we have to do something, because then the car is gone. Yeah, we only have one car, and then we have the problem where we can't be flexible anymore. Yeah. So that was the moment we said, now we have to make a decision. Yeah, and we went and made the trade-offs. Okay, we have these 3 options. Okay, you know, what is the good and the bad? So we made the trade-offs, we decided, and then I think in September, so it took less than a month, we said, okay, let's buy this thing, right? So we bought this electric car. And sure, then we used it, etc. So that is the timeline. But to understand, it's actually not a timeline, it's actually a cycle. Why it is a cycle? because the job we have in, right? We always, you remember, we kind of having somehow a struggling moment, and then we're looking for something. We go and find a new solution, right? And then we use it. And at somewhere at some time, right, we have again this struggling moment because we figure the solution we had now or we have now is not good enough anymore, right? We're always seeking for progress. So for example, if I take here one of my jobs, right, help me to feel good and do something for the environment. When I look back, what did I do for this job, right? We bought new windows for this house. Before I installed solar panels, now we got an electric car. Yeah, one of the things I already have in my mind, right? So the cycle's already going on is, okay, you know, could it be a possibility to collect rainwater, but I'm still in passive looking, don't worry. Yeah. So understanding, it's the same like when you were young, right? When you started and you first used a bike, right? Then you got a motorcycle, then you probably an old car, and then you get a new car, and now maybe an electric car, right? So it's always something changing, yeah? And then you open up a new cycle. And this is very important to understand in what cycle you are, yeah? Because when we interviewing people, we always have to understand what cycle they're talking about. And it's quite interesting to see how they used to be before, but we always have to focus on the current one. Yes, so these are actually the three, I say, elements. I'm just curious. So what are you using already? Are you using these emotional functional motivators, jobs? Are you using the 4 forces already, maybe? And are you using the cycle of progress? The jobs we done timeline would be interesting to know. So I see a few using already the jobs, the emotional, social, and functional ones. 2 already the forces. Very interesting. All right, thank you very much. And if you are, all right, cool. So now I like to go into steps. So how do we do that actually, right? How do we get the information? And I here learned from these 2 guys in 2020, they call it, they developed the Wheel of Progress. It's 2 German guys, Eckhard Böhme and Peter Roche. They took their jobs to be done framework and asked themselves, you know, how can we do that more practical? Yeah? And they developed this kind of canvas. And I would like to show you how we use this canvas actually to get the insights of the interviews. But first is actually how we do it. It's not so complicated actually, but everything that is simple, right, is complicated or something like this. So what we do explorative interviews, right? There's no script, nothing, right? Important is to who we talking. We only talk to people that recently switched from one solution to another, right? In the context we're looking for. Because what we understand, we want to understand how they made progress. That's the information we need. And how we do it and how we also explain it is like we want to collect all the information, yeah, like making a documentary. Yeah. So we really want to understand step by step how the interview went from the old solution to the solution, to the new solution. And what's sounds simple, but seems to be difficult because what we're looking here, we're not interested in everything he's saying, right? We kind of have let's say like this, it's a very selective hearing we're having, or we're having, but you have to get trained on, because we're only looking for 12 elements to understand their situation, motivation, and behaviors. And you kind of roughly know already the 12 elements, but I like to show them there. So the one thing is we want to understand the events, right? So that's always the first thing where we start. We ask, okay, you know, sometimes you start the end. Okay, tell me, you know, when you bought the product to understand what happened there. And then we start, you know, when actually happens that the first time you thought about it, right? So we're looking here really the first thoughts, the first event, the second event, and the hiring event. And there are events. It's funny. And here it's really, how you say that? What I learned is you always have to ask, not why, but also, and you should not assume. It's one of my big learnings, and I'm still working on it. right? When somebody sees it, you assume, oh, that's this way, but it's not. Yeah. And when you ask again, tell me a little more, what happens to that time? Because most people can't say what happened at that moment at first, right? If you ask a few times, say, oh yeah, I remember, there was this one. I remember, yeah, I got an email, or yes, the invoice came in. So there are always events, and you have to find out what are actually these events. Yeah. And you see here, that's kind of how it's structured. We have your 4 quadrants, so awareness, then we have the expectations. We have down here the trade-off, and we have here actually the experience. And I explain you now what other elements are on this little canvas. So you see here, right? So we put in here on our events, and I just talked about it. This is the typical events I just discovered with my journey. So then we have the forces, yeah, the habits and pushes, and the pulls and anxieties. And what we also write down is desired outcomes and what they want to avoid with a new solution. So that will something look like this, and we have here outcomes. So what we have here, for example, what I had for outcomes is, right, is I want to use the energy of my solar panels, right? I want to have a very low maintenance. And one of my avoidances, I don't want to waste a lot of time searching for something. And one of my big avoidance was, right, that I don't want to have a damaged battery like after 2 years. Yeah. And I also don't want to pay all the money at once. So these were kind of avoidance we said that we don't want to have. The next 2 things we're looking for are constraints and alternative solutions. So what are constraints? Constraints is everything that is holding you back from making progress, yeah, from getting the new solution, etc. So there are 3 kind of types. So we call it inside constraints. So constraints that we call, say, financially, physical, or mental condition, right? That kind of holding you back. And we have outside constraints like laws, distance, weather conditions, I don't know, price, the availability, yeah. And then we have also time constraints, means a certain daytime or a certain, how you say that, a time window, yeah, which constrains you of making progress. And that is relevant to understand, because when you make the best product, but you don't get over, you don't manage to get over these constraints, you don't help your customers to get over these constraints, they won't buy. And we're also looking into alternative solutions. So here is really everything. So product, services, workarounds, brands, I don't know, just measures, right? How they, until now, did this, yeah, what they used. So for example, here, yeah, one constraint said we had a budget of 10K, said not more, right? We don't give a shit about cars. I'm sorry, cars just something that brings us from A to B. So I just need something that brings us from A to B. So I don't want to spend money on it. Yeah. There has to be at least 4 persons in there, right? And one time constraint was, the waiting time for new electric cars was 8 months. Yeah. So that was something we can, right? We need it now. And I think the other one was, yes, we need at least 2 cars available at any time. Alternative solution here, we looked into car sharing, Uber, I think a Mazda, Daihatsu. So we looked at different alternative options. And that is also very interesting to see, what people used or looked into during their journey. So last but not least, I think it is last but not least, there you have the jobs. Here's really understanding, okay, what are the jobs, the gains, and the pains that come with it, right? So we had here, for example, right, keep my family organization flexible, save money, etc., etc. I talked about it. Then we have what we also want to understand, supporting jobs. That means the jobs that I have to do to go through that process, right? Like search for local car dealers, convince my wife, make a test drive. So it's also very interesting because you can focus later on then and help your customers to go through that cycle. And what kind of gains and pains we discovered, right? Our first uses. So what I figured in the winter, the freaking range drops to under 200 kilometers, which is quite bad, but life is, yeah. Another one, it took a lot of energy of the great in winter, right? More than I thought, yeah. But on the other side, I figured, well, this thing is preheated and I hate going into cold cars in the winter. So it's awesome, I can heat it, it's perfect. And I discovered also, you know, you can park free in the city. I never thought about that, right? But this is the little things that I figured, oh, this is kind of gains that came with it. So, and actually, you know, these are these 12 elements. So it's the events, it's the habits, pushes, pulls, annexes, the desired outcomes, avoidance, it's the constraints, alternative solutions, and the jobs with the gains and the pains. And actually, something like this looks then actually the result after an interview. So the interview is about 45 to 90 minutes, depending if you do B2C or B2B. And at the end, you get something like this. We need about then like 15 minutes more or half an hour to kind of structure it, but we actually create all the data while interviewing. Yeah. And this gives you quite a good picture about how people made progress, how people made or switched from the old solution to the new solution. So this is really understanding that this is the part of jobs we done. So, but we don't do this as one person, right? We don't do this with 100 persons. We normally say 7 to 10 interviews is good. So what we do in here is normally we kind of define hypothesis with the company that hired us, right? To understand what they think are their jobs, the pains and gains customer has, their solutions they use, the events, right? Just to get a certain baseline. Then we do the interviews. Thank you. Perfect. So what we do then, we gather the interviews, right? We do the interviews, and what we do then, we aggregate. So what means we take all the data and we look for patterns, right? Are there certain events in these interviews that happens all the time, right? So we see a pattern. We did an interview once with a company where it happens that one event was, the first event always happened when they did active searches when they bought a new kitchen. Was a kitchen tool, but there was one major event. They always thought about buying or they searched for these kind of tools when they always bought a new kitchen. Yeah, so that was one event, which is insightful because when you want to target them later, you know, okay, you're looking for people that are looking for new kitchens. You want to understand what are certain constraints, jobs, all the things. So you're looking for patterns and where you say these are the common things. Yeah, and at the end, you kind of prioritize. So you say, we have these jobs and how important are there? How important are there? How many pains and gains are there? So how many unsolved issues are there? And how relevant these could be for us. So that is actually the part of getting the data, right? So, but the question is now what I do, right? What I do now in the solution, I have now the data, but what can I do with it? I give you a short sneak preview here because my time is up. Anyway, yes. So what very important is you have to have a business focus, right? To get out there like, I don't know, 15 jobs, 20 jobs, and you can't solve them all. That makes no sense, right? What you really have to focus on what jobs you want to solve and want to help customers to make progress. And then you pick certain pains and gains, you pick certain constraints, you pick certain habits out where you say, yes, I think these are the relevant ones, and put them so-called focus wheels. And what you do then, and you maybe remember when the guy, the consumer or customer goes up and looks over and is asked, okay, what helps me so I can do better? And remember, he has a journey, right? All marketing people know this, right? So when we're talking about passive looking, we need to create awareness, right? When we talk about active looking, we need to gain trust. When we're talking about, when he's about deciding, we have to enable access for him, right? When he uses the first time, we have to generate enthusiasm, etc. So what we here looking is, we take our wheels and we'll say, okay, when we're in the first phase of creative looking, right? So you see on the, we're looking into the first part of awareness, right? Where we have the habits and we have the pushes. Yeah, we know what are the first events are. Yeah, as we're looking at the fourth quadrant where there are the jobs and the gains and pains. Why? because one thing we have to make ensure that whoever people we address, they have to have the first thought, right? So they have to be in the part of passive looking. Otherwise, it makes no sense. If I don't have an issue, right, I don't care about what you're writing. We have to make sure they had these first event. So the first, no, I'm lost. The first thought, yeah. Do I address some of the habits and pushes? Yeah, and I have to show in images and text, believe me, that the situation, yeah, in which the job needs to be done, right, is really helpful. And I do this with all the other phases, right? And gaining trust, here I have to make sure that they are already in active search. So what kind of event happens, right? How can I make sure that this event happens? So whenever he sees it, that he's the right person. Yeah, that I target the pulls and also the habits. Yeah, and that I show him the desired outcome so that he sees, yeah, that's where I want to go. Yeah? So that is actually where you go on and then define step by step, you know, what you have to do so people see you and then decide for you. Yes, actually that's it. And it's already 53. Damn, that's long. I'm sorry. So thank you very much. If you still have questions, please, I think we have two I see here. How do I activate a passive non-alert demand? And I think I just hopefully just answered that, right? Here it's about creating awareness. Yeah, with what I said, that you see, okay, what kind of habits he has, what kind of pushes he has, and that you kind of tag this and say, Kumar, if you do that, later on, you can achieve this. And the other one was, let me see. Yep. Okay. I miss ignorance, people not knowing about your solution as the major question. Thank you very much. You're probably right, but to be honest, I forgot where it is.
I don't understand that question, Florian. Do you understand what they're asking?
No, I'm not, but 50. I'm just singing.
No, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. That's me. It's the same question. We have a solution for a problem that's very inactive.
Okay.
So the question is, it's all we've got to do is create awareness, and then they'll buy it anyway. That's what you're saying. So I'm going to refocus all my marketing and sales activities into awareness, creating buzz, creating noise.
See, the point is, it's not only, so I'm not the marketing expert here, right? Okay.
No, but in general, I don't want to get into detail, but that's
but the point is what I understood, you have to have, and you probably said people tell you that, right? They call it, what is a funnel? Here's like, you take your customer through the journey, right? Huh?
Forget the funnel. I
know
what I'm saying. I know what to do. Yeah,
you have to take him in that. If he has an awareness, you don't need to put him with like decision making or whatever, right? He's not interested, and you have to get him there. Yeah, and that's awareness. The idea where you have actually all the data. Now you just have to switch it and actually create their marketing messages or like products where he can test, and then later on the real product. So,
thank you.
Okay, that's it. Actually, any further questions? If you have.
I have one more for you, Florian.
Yeah.
When you look at the wheel of progress, what do you find is the hardest as a facilitator to get answers to or to fill in? Is it awareness or expectations, trade-offs or experience? Like for those of us going out and using this tool, where might we have the most struggles executing it, do you think?
Yeah, to be honest, struggling is really getting the answers, asking the right questions. It's not as I did a few, I'm not an expert in it, right? But I think I did a few already, but it's so difficult because you go really quickly in the part of assuming, he meant it this way. Mm-hmm. And the point is you're not going the part of assuming, still asking, what do you mean? What happens, etc. That is really that's the main difference between getting shitty data and getting good data, is really asking the right questions and going into the flow, right? It's not like I have a list here and ask there. No, it's you have to understand. Then he's struggling and you have to ask, so you have to kind of push him a little bit, but not too far. And so that is real. That's difficult. And it's I know that Peter, for example, Peter Rau, who's awesome guy, always incredible when he asked questions. Like, why you ask the question? I thought it's clear, but it was not clear, right? So that's what I mean by assuming, yes. So that is the hard part.
Yeah, get better with experience on that one. Don't
Yeah,
you?
it's just doing, right? You just
Yeah.
have to start. Yeah. Cool.
Any other questions from the crowd? I didn't see any more on Menti. I don't
No.
see any more in the chat except
Me
for
neither.
getting the recording from Sabine.
Cool.
Maria Vittoria, we have, this is the third of our share and learns. Actually, the third. Yep. What's our next one going to be?
Yes, thank you. Yes, the next one will be 13th of April, always the same time, that is 1 to 2 CET. And it would be on the Latin Decision Jam, so a short problem-solving innovation methodology by one of the Forte Innovation Institute person, is Roddy Wong. So you can follow the Forte Innovation Institute on LinkedIn just to get the invitation if you want to register next month. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks, Florian, for wonderful jobs to be done. Seminar today. I learned a lot. Thank you for some very informative slides, and everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great. Thank you very much, Florian.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Really
Bye,
good.
Florian. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Florian.